Hello, listener. I apologize for doing yet another cold open that's just me talking, but as a real good excuse. Before we start the pod, I need to ask you to do two very important things. Before I get to that, if you like this film, then you've probably noticed you can't find it anywhere. Not on your Netflix, not on your Hulu, not even on Peacock. And Peacock don't give a fuck what they put on their streaming service. Vanderpump Rules is on there. The reason you can't find Dogma anywhere except, on unauthorized websites is a rapist by the name of Harvey Weinstein. A one-time Hollywood bigwig, Weinstein is now in prison serving time for being the white man's Bill Cosby. He owns the rights to Dogma, and like the cause, at some point this motherfucker might get out. At the very least, if he sells the rights, it'll be used to fight his legal battles. So Dogma, as Kevin Smith himself puts it, is being held hostage. Which brings me to what I'm asking of you. I'm sure you've noticed a number of films you've enjoyed, maybe even loved, will disappear from streaming for no rhyme or reason. Or even worse, it is available, but you live in the wrong region to watch it. I remember when I first went to the movies, I went to see them in a movie theater, not a fucking region. But evidently, that's a thing now. Actually, it's been a thing for quite some time, and I'm way sick of it. So my first request for you is to pirate movies. Pirate the fuck out of them. Fuck copyright. Some bean counter somewhere has decided to take your film enjoyment from you. Pirate all the shit. Fuck these people. And also, buy physical media. If you can get a hold of a DVD or tape or whatever, get it. I don't care if your favorite picture is Star Wars, Star Trek, Top Gun, Black Panther, or Casablanca. You have no way of knowing when some dipshit somewhere, possibly even a serial rapist, will disappear that film from every single streaming service on Earth. We now live in a universe where movie studios make movies and then don't release them. Not because the movies are bad, mind you, but because they can use that as a tax write-off. The movie business is out to destroy the movie business, and we, the audience, need to say fuck you. And this is the only way I can think of. If you've got a better idea, feel free to share it. But that's mine. Thanks for listening. Now enjoy the show. Well, does this still work? The podcast looks at old wings and asks, does it still work? I'm Joe Dixon.
And I'm George Ramacka. And today we're discussing Dogma from 1999 and some historical context. First, podcasty stuff. You can reach us at dtswpod@gmail.com, on Facebook, Letterboxd, and on our YouTube channel. Please tell your friends about us and leave 5-star ratings everywhere. You can pick what we watch and get extra per episode content by funding us on Patreon for as little as $1 a month at patreon.com/dtswpod. And one more thing. We have a guest. Please welcome back the social media manager for Puzzle in a Thunderstorm and the reason I have 50,000 watts of funkin' on my workout playlist, Tim Robertson.
Hi, George. Hi, Joe. Happy to be back.
Hi.
Hi, guys.
Glad to have you.
Happy to have you back again. So, Tim, can you tell us why you picked this film?
Well, I guess the real reason is I'm pretty lazy. I've seen this movie more often than maybe anything else in my life. It used to run on Comedy Central on the regular, so it was an easy watch for me. Plus, a star-studded cast full of Kevin Smith's friends. But more than that, the Dove Foundation is a very conservative Christian website that ranks movies, kind of like the Christian Rotten Tomatoes.
So it's a hate group.
Well, yeah. And this is a really interesting review they did for this movie. They have categories called sex, violence, faith, nudity.
All my favorites.
No, 3 out of 4 of those are favorites.
Exactly. Well, they gave this movie its worst rating of any movie I could find that they've ever reviewed, a -22. And I've never seen them rank anything that low. It's rated not approved for any age. But
no age can see this.
Yeah, they did such a shitty job of reviewing the movie. They didn't put these little comments into their various categories like nudity or violence. They just put all this, the following I'm going to read to you, they put all this under sex. Much use of profane, obscene, and sexually explicit language, even by these wayward angels. Blasphemy, nudity, drug, alcohol, and cigarette use, violence including bloody fights and guns, irreverent and adolescent dialogue, humor and anti-Catholic sentiments. Hollywood always counters those who protest religious mockery by defending their film as one filled with thoughtful ideas. That's their entire movie review, which was enough to get me to watch it.
If this film was anti-Catholic, believe me, there's plenty of places it could have gone if it wanted to go that way. They completely gloss over, as we're probably going to get into.
I'll definitely mention it.
Yeah, there is some areas well, to be fair, this was made in 1999, so he's probably unaware of. But there is plenty going on with the Catholic Church that could have been brought up in this film and is not.
And for the record, Kevin Smith still calls himself a Catholic.
Salma Hayek is a huge Catholic also.
Mm-hmm.
And she's married to a billionaire who is basically paying a ton of the money to rebuild the church in Paris, France that burned down a few years ago.
Frickin' the Quasimodo place?
Saint whichever, yeah.
Saint whichever, my favorite saint.
Yeah, that was a TV show in the 80s, Saint whichever.
All right, Joe, take us back to 1999.
You might wonder why this film mentions the failings of the Catholic Church when it comes to the Holocaust and slavery, but it doesn't mention all the pedophilia the church is known for. While the survivors network of those abused by priests started in 1988, mainstream acknowledgement of the widespread sex crimes and cover-ups by the church didn't start till this movie was released. In the same year Dogma came out, in Ireland, a TV documentary called States of Fear revealed abuse from the 1930s to the 1970s at state-funded Catholic-run institutions. Much of it was covered up by Ireland's police force. The dam didn't break until the Boston Globe's 2002 expose of Boston's clergy harming scores of children, and the number of settlements in the diocese paid out to families in order to make the scandal go away. So in 1999, the Catholic Church was still seen as respectable by most people in America. Thus, you got headlines like this from the New Jersey newspaper, The Press of Atlantic City.
Pope John Paul II's legacy stretches across borders, even as he maintains the Church's conservative views. The Pope has modernized the Roman Catholic Church, reaching out to youths and other religious faiths, but he has strictly adhered to the Church's traditions.
I'm not going to read past the headline here, but do either of you have any feelings about Pope John Paul II's legacy in 2023? According to Wikipedia, in November 2001, he sent his first email, and in it, he apologized for the behavior of Catholic missionaries in China during colonial times, Aboriginal children in Australia for the church endorsed removal of them from their families, and Catholic sex abuse cases.
As Tim Minchin would say, fuck the motherfucking Pope. That's my thoughts on it.
Amen. And it's weird, because I was not a Catholic when Pope John Paul died. I was a conservative evangelical when Pope John Paul died. I, at that point in my life, thought Catholics were idolaters for worshiping saints and shit. And yet, I found myself crying in my car when I heard the news on the radio. Nowadays, I want to go back and slap myself silly. Because no pope has ever done the right thing. Because the right thing would be to abolish the Catholic Church.
Let's examine that a little bit. What was it about his death? Was it actually a personal emotional thing, or was something else affecting you as well? And just the thought of this guy dying made you cry? You don't even know why you were.
I don't even know, Joe. I don't even know.
Okay. I was never Catholic, so this is never an issue with me. When he died, it meant nothing to me. When he was alive, it meant nothing to me. I was definitely Christian at the time, but I was not one of those Christians who thought anybody else was going to hell. I just thought everybody who was religious just had different, seating arrangements, but we were all supposed to ascend to heaven because if you were a good person or whatever.
So you took the serendipity route.
Pretty much.
As we will get to.
I would say that's true, yes. And then on that note, okay, George, tell us about Dogma.
Alrighty. This is another movie written and directed by Kevin Smith. Of his works for the show, we've seen Mallrats.
And I've seen Clerks.
Yep.
Clerks 2. Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Yep.
Zach and Marie Make a Porno, and Chasing Amy.
Yep. And I've also seen Jersey Girl.
You're a bigger fan of Kevin Smith than I am. How come you've seen less of his movies?
Because I've seen fewer movies than you in general, Joe.
Have you guys ever watched Red State?
Yep.
No, I missed that one.
Oh, I torrented it like a year ago because I missed it, and it's another one of Kevin Smith's movies that doesn't exist on streaming.
Besides the Harvey Weinstein thing, doesn't he have some personal battle issues with streaming services? Doesn't he create some issues with limiting his movies and their availability online because they pop up on Netflix once in a while, but they always seem to be limited time runs? I think Kevin Smith's got some ideas about this too.
I don't know, but my understanding is when it comes to streaming services, the filmmaker has no say on when it's on or off the on the service or not.
It's whoever owns the rights, and that's almost never the writer director.
Well, it seems to happen to Kevin Smith movies a lot. That's all I know.
I think he gets in bed with bad people.
Maybe.
You mean he gets in bed with the Hollywood industry, which is full of bad people?
Yep.
I don't know. Anybody who's ever made a film hasn't at least been in one picture or been produced by somebody who wasn't some sort of scumbag.
Yep. I mean, Hollywood, it's this freaking liberal enclave that constantly out to piss off conservatives. Still full of just garbage human beings.
Well, there's a lot of money
in all
there.
the wrong places.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of money there, so hence there's going to attract a lot of lowlifes because they go where the money is, like bank robbers.
Mm-hmm. All right. So blurb. Just blurb. Because this was a hard movie to find. Fortunately, somebody put it on YouTube. That made it a little easier. IMDb says, an abortion clinic worker with a special heritage is called upon to save the existence of humanity from being negated by two renegade angels trying to exploit a loophole and re-enter heaven.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, it's a long way to get there, but yeah.
Sure, why not? I do want to say, though, for who I didn't realize this is on YouTube. Good job. Do that. Make sure you all do that. Put your stuff up on YouTube or wherever. Again, fuck copyrights. The film industry is destroying itself. We have no obligation to keep their copyrights going.
Also, don't pirate our show.
How can our show be pirated?
Because people can take it and claim it as their own. That would be violating our copyright.
I don't know if they can claim it as their own. How that would work.
Because you can claim anything, Joe, even if you're wrong. You can make incorrect claims. That's how religion works. You can just make shit up. Anyway, so this film starts with title cards. First, they define the word disclaimers. Next, they give one, that this religion-mocking movie shouldn't be taken as mocking religion. Finally, it invokes the platypus as evidence that if a deity created the universe, it has a sense of humor.
Yeah, I don't think the audience for whom this disclaimer was meant actually watched the film or this opening before making death threats. I'm just saying, this was supposed to open in late 98, and the pre-publicity delayed the opening until 1999. And so I think the disclaimer is more humorous than it was actually effective.
Yeah.
I don't even understand what did he think was going to be achieved by putting a disclaimer on? Or maybe the producers thought it was a good idea. Well, he's one of the producers of Kevin Smith. But it's like, yeah, exactly. It was never going to convince the truly hardcore religious who weren't going to go see the movie anyway. This movie clearly believes in a God, right? I mean, he's literally seeing the God is in the movie.
Yep.
So it is in no way undermining your stupid faith.
And God's actions are even defended in this movie on the regular.
Yep.
100%.
And here's the thing about the kinds of people that would be protesting against this movie. None of them are big on understanding the source material before they do something with it.
Meaning the Bible?
That, or whatever they're protesting against.
Yeah. This was driven a lot by, what are those crazy Kansas church people that protest all the funerals?
Westboro Baptist?
Yeah, they spearheaded a lot of this. Kevin Smith even got death threats before this movie came out.
Yep.
I wonder how many people who protested this movie, complained about the movie, thought it was the end of civilization, have since forgotten that it even exists. They just went on to a new outrage.
Every single one of them.
All of them, yeah.
And those people are why he made Red State.
Oh, you should put it on the list. Wait, I've never seen Red State. I'll be curious to see it.
It's okay. It is. I'm doing the I Dream of Jeannie, wiggling my nose. It's now on the list, even if I haven't put it there yet. In Asbury Park, New Jersey, John Doe Jersey is watching the Atlantic from the boardwalk outside a skee ball joint. 3 teenagers on rollerblades with hockey sticks beat the crap out of him. The teens are demons, the Stygian triplets. John Doe Jersey is God in a mortal old man suit and just wanted to play some skee-ball.
Okay, this seems like a bad system. I know later in the movie it's explained that God likes his constitutionals, but you think that the Almighty would just build an arcade in heaven for his own enjoyment? Or if he's coming to America, bring fucking security?
Yeah.
Or give himself superpowers. I mean, he's God, right?
He is. She is. It is.
It is. I think it is a better word.
Not the first time that God's omniscience plus omnipotence seems unlikely.
Yeah, that's a good point. Wouldn't you already know this is going to happen?
Yes, Joe. That's how omniscience works.
Yeah. So we should have known this is going to happen. Why didn't... All right, never mind.
It was
There's a lot of questions I have about this film.
Because every question that we can ask like that about this film is just a question about religion.
Not all of it.
Yes, all of it.
No, I have
all of
it's
it.
Not about religion. It still doesn't make any sense.
I think the answer to this question is kind of revealed at the end. Spoiler, this was all part of God's plan in order to, get the last scion where she ends up.
As opposed to just telling her, hey, you're the last scion.
Yeah.
Saving a whole bunch of trouble.
Yeah, she could never have faith in someone just telling her that. It has to be proven to her. She needs proof. We have to go by faith, but the last scion gets proof. Much like Doubting Thomas got proof, but we're supposed to just have faith in the resurrection.
Yep. John Doe Jersey is played by Bud Cort, who we saw for the show in episode 1, MASH, and episode 4? Harold and Maude.
I did not know this, but apparently he was in Heat, and I saw Heat. This is according to IMDb, so if I'm wrong, it's IMDb's fault.
And I've seen him in Coyote Ugly and The Number 23.
The hell is the number 23?
Jim Carrey and numerology.
Crazy shit.
Yep.
Never heard of this.
The Stygian triplets are played by Barrett Hackney,
It was in Kingpin.
Jared Fenningworth,
Zach and Miri make a porno.
and Kiteo Sakurai, who is more of like a producer and director nowadays. Haven't seen anything, but they went on to do stuff.
That's cool. So God didn't strike them dead for this movie, then?
Nope.
No, he's fucked up. What a lazy bastard.
In Red Bank, New Jersey, Cardinal Glick is holding a press conference outside St. Michael's Church. He explains Catholicism Wow, a church attempt at rebranding away from the stuffy liturgical past into a hip and exciting future. He unveils the Buddy Christ as a contrast to the historical crucifix. Nobody asks if they're trying to appeal to the youth for any nefarious reasons.
All right, so I'm pro Buddy Christ, much less toxic, but I don't think you're going to get the Protestants on board with this whole get rid of the crucifix T jewelry thing. And Big Jewelry has quite a strong industry lobby as well. The Protestants are definitely not on board with this.
Yeah, but Big Jewelry could just retool it towards making giant golden Buddy Christs.
Hey, listen, you want to be on board, Buddy Christ, you need to darken that motherfucker up.
We'll get there. Cardinal Glick is played by George Carlin, and for the show, we saw him in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
And I saw him, I think, when I was 6 myself with 6 You Get Egg Roll. Well, I didn't. It was on, reruns on TV. I also am seeing Car Wash and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey.
Yep.
Plus, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Yep. And I've seen him in Jersey Girl, and he did voice work in Cars. Plus, we've seen all his comedy specials.
Yes. Well, now he is way more blasphemous than this picture is.
Yep. At Milwaukee Airport, Loki discusses theology with a nun until she abandons her faith and takes the money she was collecting to go buy herself something nice. Loki was God's angel of vengeance before his friend Bartleby convinced him not to slaughter some people. For their disobedience, they were cast out of heaven to live out eternity in what would become Wisconsin. Bartleby is people watching at a gate since this was 1999 and you could still do that. He shows Loki an article sent to him anonymously about Cardinal Glick and Catholicism Wow. In addition to Buddy Christ, Glick is invoking the ritual of plenary indulgence, declaring that anyone who walks through the arches of St. Michael's on the day of its 100th anniversary will be forgiven of their sins. And this all hinges on...
Well, last sacred promises imparted to Peter, the first pope, by the Son of God before he left was, whatever you hold true on earth, I'll hold true in heaven. It's dogmatic law.
Which is derived from Matthew 16:19, giving this movie a weird theologically accurate bedrock.
So a couple of things. One, I've never seen the Catholics walking through an airport with a little tip jar collecting dollars and cents for the parish. Maybe that's just me. Isn't that the Moonies that collect the money in the airports? The Catholics are rich.
They did do that, but not as much as the Moonies. The Moonies popularized it, but they definitely had, or at least people dressed like Catholic. They may not have been Catholic priests and nuns collecting money. I believe that is the case.
So my favorite part of this scene is right at the end. There's two dudes showing off a movie, and I guess we'll explain what a movie is later in the background at the end of the scenes. But those same two dudes are actually in the extras in the end of the movie, and they later die. They're massacred.
Which is just and righteous to happen.
I assume, for worshiping that movie.
Yep. Loki is played by Matt Damon, who we saw for the show in Good Will Hunting.
He was also in Thor, Love and Thunder. And who did he play in that? That's right, he played an actor playing Loki. I think there's a connection there. I also see him in The Last Duel, Ford versus Ferrari, Deadpool 2.
Yep.
The Martian, Contagion, True Grit, the 2010 version, The Departed, and that's it.
And I've seen him in Field of Dreams, Chasing Amy, Saving Private Ryan, Titan AE, Finding Forrester, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Ocean's 11, The Bourne Identity, Jersey Girl, We Bought a Zoo, and Thor Ragnarok.
Oh, so that Damon you'll see, but Kevin Smith, not so much.
Again, by accident, Joe. Bartleby is played by Ben Affleck, who for the show we've seen in Mallrats and also Good Will Hunting.
And I've just saw him in The Flash. He was also in The Last Duel, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice, that's not his fault, don't blame him, Gone Girl, Argo, and certainly don't blame me, The Town, Clerks 2, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back,
Yup.
Shakespeare in Love, and Going All the Way.
And I've seen him in Field of Dreams, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Chasing Amy, Armageddon, Pearl Harbor, The Sum of All Fears, and Daredevil. It's Sunday in Illinois, and we meet Bethany, our main protagonist, in her own Catholic church, where the priest is pushing forced birth garbage. Then we watch her coworker Liz at the local Planned Parenthood wade through a crowd of existential terrorists to join Bethany in the break room. There, they discuss Bethany's faltering faith, the irony of her tithing to the Catholic Church, and her need for some dick.
So I was kind of disappointed that Janine Garofalo didn't have a bigger role in this movie. She has kind of this little cameo appearance, but I thought she was pretty funny.
So hold that thought for 1 second, okay? Bethany is played by Linda Florentino,
who I saw in The Last Seduction.
And I saw in Men in Black, and Liz is played by Janine Garofalo,
who I saw in Mystery Men.
Yep.
And Half Baked.
And I saw in Titan AE. So Linda Florentino and Kevin Smith did not get along.
Yes, I heard that.
Famously. And he talked shit about her after the movie. That shit that he talked was he should have given Janine Garofalo Linda's role.
Oh, really?
Yep. Now, after Kevin Smith had a heart attack, he got phone calls from a lot of people he worked with, and one of them was Linda Fiorentino, who he apologized profusely to for saying that.
Interesting. Didn't know that history.
Yep.
You know, the interesting thing about Linda Fiorentino, she had a really hot career there for a while, and then it just gone just like that.
Like Rick Moranis.
Not at all like Rick Moranis. He walked away because he wanted to take care of his kids.
Yeah.
She walked away for...
I know.
I don't know. God knows what.
I just watched Little Shop of Horrors, and I was thinking of Rick Moranis.
Okay.
The Stygian triplets are under the command of Azrael, who was a kind of muse before the war in heaven. He decided to sit that one out, and when it was over, God kicked him out with all the rebel angels. He and the triplets kill a woman and take over her suburban house to use as headquarters. He directs them to find and eliminate the last scion before, quote, the powers can contact her.
We do learn that the triplets can kill, but apparently only minor characters, not main characters. Spoiler alert.
Yep.
The triplets are bad at their job.
They are.
I mean, other than, I guess they just wanted to show them as evil, it seemed unnecessary for them to kill the woman. Why have a scene where this woman gets murdered? It seemed unnecessary. It seems to be just like a throwaway scene. Because they literally could just have found an empty house somewhere or something. Because it doesn't develop into anything. Just, oh, this woman's dead. Now we have our apartment, our house.
It is like a period on the sentence of them just being absolute evil.
I guess. Well, they do beat up God at the beginning of the movie, though. I mean,
well,
yeah, but you don't have to be evil to do that.
Yeah, I had that thought too about they weren't good enough at their job to kill God, but then of course that gets explained later in the movie, so I won't ruin it now. But there's a reason why the triplets didn't go all the way in that one.
Yeah. So Azrael is played by Jason Lee, and for the show we saw him in Mallrats doing amazing space work with a styrofoam cup.
And I've seen him in. And this title's going to come up a lot. Jay and Silent Bob Reboot and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Yup. And other ones that come up a lot, Chasing Amy, Jersey Girl. Not so much with The Incredibles, Underdog, and Alvin and the Chipmunks. Bethany is just trying to get some sleep when her bedroom is invaded by a flaming form, announcing itself to be the Metatron, Herald of the Almighty, and Voice of the One True God a bunch of times, before Bethany improperly yet still effectively uses a fire extinguisher to put him out.
Is Metatron a real thing? Because I've never heard of that when I was growing up.
It is in the supernatural universe. Like that TV show.
No, I mean...
he's played by Booger.
No, but I mean in the Catholic faith, when you were raised with it, do you ever heard of Metatron before?
No.
I never heard of Metatron in the Bible either.
No, it's
definitely not in the Bible. That much I'm certain of.
No, there is a, like, voice of God angel.
Yes.
In the Bible.
That's Gabriel, right?
Yeah. And, Metatron is just like a Latin thing for that. So it's more like, what was that fucking Dan Brown book?
Angels and Demons?
No, the one before that.
Where he's investigating the Catholic Church?
That's like the Da Vinci Code shit.
Da Vinci Code, right, okay.
Yeah. The exchange that follows involves a baseball bat turning into a salmon, a visual exposition of angelic non-anatomy, and the fact that she's been called. To explain more, he teleports them to a nearby Mexican restaurant. He goes over Loki and Bartleby's backstory and how they've been clued into the whole plenary indulgence thing. The problem is that because God cast them out, for them to find a way back in would render God as fallible, which would undo all of reality, so she's to stop them from entering the church. After some problem of evil talk, Metatron sweetens the deal, saying she'll have the help of some prophets. Reluctantly, she's in.
So, comment... They show the Ken doll lack of anatomy for an uncomfortably long time. Is that just me? We already know he can catch on fire. He can turn a baseball bat into a fish. He is the voice of God. But even as more proof, he wants to say, look, I have no dick. And there's at least 3 or 4 flash shots to that. That just seemed a little bit... gratuitous. Some gratuitous nudity, maybe.
I think Kevin Smith did that just to go like, hey, isn't this cool? Look, we're showing him with no dick. I honestly think that's all that was.
Well, later in the movie, they're going to do it with Selma Hayek.
Yep.
But they won't show Selma Hayek as a Barbie doll with no anatomy. They just refer to that. I just thought that was interesting.
Well, technically, she's not an angel, though, right?
She's a muse. She wasn't even a being. She was an abstract.
Right.
She was an idea that coalesced into a being with boobs but no vag.
In short, though, I thought that Alan Rickman did a good job providing some exposition to get the movie going in a pretty short scene. I think you have all you need to know to kind of kick off the pilgrimage.
Yeah, and those maracas that he shakes at the end of it, he carried those around the entire day that day and was driving people nuts with them.
Rest in peace, Alan Rickman.
Yep. And Metatron is played by Alan Rickman.
Oops.
Who we've seen in Die Hard for the podcast, and I've seen in Love Actually.
And I saw him in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I'll cut your heart out with a spoon.
Oh, brilliant. I almost felt like Rickman was here.
Yep. Galaxy Quest by Grepthar's Hammer, You Will Be Avenged.
Oh, it gets better and better.
The Harry Potter franchise, so Potter, and The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Oh no, it's so depressing.
Those are just,
Yes, I am a very good, bad Alan Rickman.
Bravo.
At night, Bethany is locking up the Planned Parenthood clinic when she is attacked by the Stygian triplets.
Which actually makes no particular sense since they know they have protesters. She would not be closing it up by herself, alone.
Yep. Who comes to the rescue but Jay and Silent Bob, who make quick camera-enabled work of the demons who run away. Meaning, you never see them actually doing anything. You just get a camera cut to, like, the face of a demon and then a fist hitting it, but you don't see who's throwing the fist.
Because I'm sure Kevin Smith realizes him actually fighting someone would look hilarious. I don't think they were quite going for that.
That and Jason Mewes had some really bad heroin problems at the time and was, like, nodding off between takes. And during takes.
Was that a bad heroin problem or a good heroin problem?
Yes, Joe.
Yeah, he almost died. He was in.
Yep.
I think he had one overdose, and he famously had a pretty serious drug addiction problem. And I'm not sure he's over it to this day. I think that's what it really ended his career.
Oh no. He's not only over it. His career's doing just fine. I'm shocked at the number of things this man's been in.
Oh.
He's doing great. He's even going on a cruise with Kevin Smith. They're doing a Jay and Silent Bob cruise thing with all the fans. So he's doing fine.
Good for him, then. Good for him.
Before long, Jay is making the movie uncomfortable trying to get into Bethany's pants. When unsuccessful, he gives up and says that they should go back very specifically to Red Bank, New Jersey, clocking them as the prophets Bethany was watching for.
Again, another scene where the triplets are very bad at their job.
Yep.
They have 3-on-2 plus a victim, and they have their hockey sticks, yet they get their butts kicked by Jay and Silent Bob. But I think that's, they're meant to be bad at their job.
Yep.
It's God's plan.
Yep. Jay is played by Jason Mewes,
Who we've seen in Mallrats. And I've seen in every Kevin Smith film that's had him in it.
Yep. In particular, I've seen him in Clerks, Chasing Amy, and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Silent Bob is played by Kevin Smith, and we talked about him earlier. Loki and Bartleby are at a gun shop. Loki lamentedly contrasts modern weapons and their impersonality with his flaming sword of old. He describes raining sulfur as only slightly less exhausting than soccer.
Yeah, America, guns, fuck yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's one of the most accurate things in the movie is you could just walk into a gun shop and buy a gun.
Yeah, I think they're in a pawn shop, and he buys the biggest, gaudiest gun. You'll get to see it in a scene coming up that he could possibly get his hands on.
Yeah, well, they're called a phallic symbol for a reason.
At a diner, Jay explains that they're in Illinois because all of the John Hughes movies were in Sherman, Illinois, so they thought there'd be tons of beautiful, young, available women there. Sherman, Illinois doesn't exist, leaving the prophets disillusioned. Jay is relentless in his propositioning of Bethany.
What about sex?
No sex.
All right, well, let's say we're caught in a situation where we have like 5 minutes left to live. Like, I don't know, a bomb or something's gonna go off. Would you fuck us then?
In that highly unlikely situation? Yeah, sure.
Yeah? She's a slut. Bang.
That conversation took place over the second greatest cowbell song ever, Mickey and Sylvia's 1956 hit Love is Strange.
So I thought this was a pretty funny reason for the prophets to be there. I actually laughed at this. If you watch the Jay and Silent Bob movies, this is something they would totally cook up, that Shermer, Illinois was a real place that they could go sell ganj and live like kings.
There's a non-zero chance that we could have covered enough John Hughes movies on this podcast that we would have ended up taking a road trip there for Joe to find somebody.
Yeah, I want the people in the John Hughes movie. 6-year-old white girls. Good. Thank you, George.
I also think they did a pretty good job. What a reference what'll happen at the end of the movie with the last 5 minutes to live piece. I actually thought that was a pretty funny callback.
Yeah, they come back to that. That's true. I think we all agree, right? The even though it's supposed to be funny, it's actually not cool what he keeps doing.
No, it's not. It's really uncomfortable.
There was a 90s quota. You had to sexually harass and make a certain number of homophobic jokes in order to produce a 90s movie. I think that was in their contracts.
Must have been.
Why is the angel not just take them there? Why does he have to wait for, why do they have to take all these trips?
Good question, Joe.
Actually, I had the same question in my notes that I took out. It'll be explained later that Bethany had to see all these things for herself and learn as proof in order to commit to the pilgrimage. If they just transported her there, it would have to be taken on faith, and that wouldn't have been good enough for Bethany.
Well, okay, we'll get into it a little later, because actually that still doesn't make any sense, but okay, we'll wait.
So, Bethany and the prophets take her car on the shortest road trip ever because she lets Jay drive without asking if he can drive stick. They break down on a bridge. Loki and Bartleby, too, are making their way to Red Bank. They're going by bus. They observe an adulterous couple making out in the seat in front of them. Loki executes them for their sin, causing the bus to stop and all on it to flee.
So it just occurred to me, if Bartleby and Loki were banned to Wisconsin for life, how can they be on a road trip to New Jersey?
Because God's fallible. Oops, just unmade all of reality.
I guess that was in God's plan. But also, couldn't they have just driven the empty bus?
Yep.
Why did they have to get out and walk the wrong? They literally start walking the wrong way, just by the way.
Yep. Good questions, Tim.
I presume they can't drive. They don't know how to drive.
Neither did Sandra Bullock, but she figured it out.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of this makes no sense. Like, why they do it this way? Number one, how is it you shot people on a bus and there aren't a ton of cops looking for your ass? They're not exactly hiding their faces.
Nope.
God's plan.
Yep.
God should have planned for a better movie. Sorry. Spoiler alert.
By morning, Bethany is ready to give up on trying to fix her car and starts walking back home. Out of the sky falls Rufus, Jesus' 13th apostle. He gets up unharmed because he's already dead. Not undead, just dead. Period. Rufus convinces them all to start walking towards Red Bank because back in Jesus' day, they walked everywhere.
So also we get some obligatory dick jokes because it's the 90s after all. But that being said, I actually enjoyed Chris Rock's performance in this movie. I think Kevin Smith wrote in some specific roles for his friends. This is a pretty star-studded cast.
Yeah, and Rufus is played by Chris Rock.
And for this podcast, we last saw Chris Rock in Beverly Hills Cop 2. And I've seen him in Top 5, Head of State, Pootie Tang, Amsterdam, Dolomite Is My Name, Death at a Funeral, Nurse Betty, Lethal Weapon 4, CB 4, New Jack City, and of course, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Yep, and I've seen him in Dr. Dolittle, AI, Artificial Intelligence, a movie that came out when AI was new enough that you had to explain to people in the title that it meant artificial intelligence, and Madagascar. The Stygian triplets are about to attack them, but one stops the others and they rip a hole in space-time to report the addition of the Apostle to those Azrael needs to worry about.
At first I thought maybe the triplets had some reticence because the Apostle was there. I just think the triplets are just bad at their job. Once again, why could they not go ahead and just whack Bethany on the head and be done with it?
Or, here's an idea. Why not go to Red Bank, New Jersey? Help the angels get into the churches. That's what they need to happen, right? Why even bother with all these people? They're taking forever. We could just be there at where the trip is supposed to take them.
Good question.
Well, the movie needs to have a runtime. So Azrael tells the triplets that he's calling in backup. The Golgothan. We'll meet him later. At a Mooby's restaurant, whose logo is a golden calf that is modeled after a McDonald's with a play place, the protagonists stop for a bite. Rufus exposits that he feels like he was left out of the Bible because he's black, and also that Jesus, a first-century Palestinian Jew, was also black, and not a white guy that looks like he belongs in a Kenny Chesney music video. He says the dead spend most of their time watching the living, and proves it by telling Bethany something she did that she never told a soul. Also, that Jay jerks off thinking about guys. That Jay promptly says not all the time because it's the 90s.
Yeah, Bethany gets a lot of proof to quell her concerns. So this is another area that Bethany gets the proof by Rufus telling her this little secret that just confirms that there's some supernatural stuff happening.
It would be very depressing to me to think there is a life after death, which I don't believe in, and all I'm doing is violating people's personal space and watching in their private moments. What kind of death is that? I'm dead, and all I'm doing is watching people in the shower? I'd be like,
Joe?
I'd be traveling the world. I'd be traveling the universe.
You saw what happened when reality TV became a thing. That's all people want to do, apparently, is watch other people's worst moments.
Not me. I hate reality TV.
There's no way that mankind doesn't turn the afterlife into a porn studio. No way they don't do that.
Wait a minute. So I'm dead and I'm still horny? Jesus Christ.
The prophets wander over to a strip club where Serendipity herself, another muse, is charming the dollars from the patrons. We'll get back to her in a bit.
By the way, that is the worst looking strip club I've ever seen, and I've been in real strip clubs.
Yeah, and another unnecessary scene to further the plot, I really thought, but I really enjoyed it. Kevin Smith has got a lot of A-listed friends. What I didn't enjoy was the portrayal of the rival gang in quote signs. I don't
know what they were there for.
They were dressed up in costume.
All the non-Chris Rock black representation in the movie were white stereotypes of black people from like the quote inner city.
Yeah, these were supposed to be the Bloods or the Crips, I assume.
Yeah, because those are the only gangs that white people are aware of.
That's my extent of my knowledge.
And Kevin Smith's. Serendipity is played by Selma Hayek. And for the show, we saw her in Once Upon a Time in Mexico.
And I've seen her in Sausage Party, Savages, and Eternals.
Yep.
Don't blame her for that.
And I saw her in Desperado and Wild Wild West. Loki and Bartleby show up at Mubi's corporate headquarters and crash an executive board meeting. They list off the heinous sins of the board members, except the one lady on the board who is somehow without sin, before executing all but that lady.
Of all the scenes, and look, I was not in love with this picture, I'll be honest right up front, but of all the scenes that I didn't like in this movie, this one probably annoyed me the most. Number one, okay, they know about all these sins that these people supposedly have done and the terribleness and they make all and they all just sit there for some reason. These strangers come into the boardroom and they sit there and listen to them say all this stuff to them. The one lady is like, but she didn't say God bless you. And some of the sins, quite frankly, I don't even know how seriously I should take it. It just seemed like bullshit to me the whole way through. And quite frankly, who are these guys?
Which guys? Loki and Bartleby?
Who are these guys coming? Excuse you. You were in a war with God in heaven. Who are you to be judging us? Get the fuck out of here.
Well, they had a gun, so...
Yeah. This scene wasn't at all necessary for the movie, but I have a question. So they refer to movies as part of the Complex Corporation. That's actually what they call it, the Complex Corporation. So back in 98, 99, who was this corporation supposed to be? Is this Walt Disney World? Time Warner?
All of the above.
All the above. I agree with that, yeah. All the above.
That's who they're going after, the big corporate conglomerate?
Yeah.
Well, fuck those guys then.
Yep. The protagonists in Serendipity go into a back room for some more philosophy, theology, and exposition. Bethany learns that she's the last scion, but not what that means. We also learn that God is a woman. Serendipity says that it really doesn't matter what one has faith in, as long as they have it at all. And I say, boo!
The Muse does make a couple of good points, though, about gender bias in the Bible, and there's 2 or 3 spots in this movie where Kevin Smith gets to stand on a soapbox a bit and rant, but not nearly enough.
He gets off of that soapbox and calls himself a Catholic, so
yeah,
fuck.
he falls short. Don't get me wrong. He falls short.
I don't know if you guys have noticed this, and this is a bit of trivia here, but in point of fact, in the Bible, none of the angels are women. Every angel that has a name or any sort of representation is a dude.
Every angel that has a name or any kind of representation is like a ball of eyes with wings. They're not even humanoid.
But when they take humanoid form, it's always a dude.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Plus, I don't know what the ratio is of all the women who are mentioned in the Bible. Less than half of them even actually get names.
Oh, yeah.
Like Lot's wife and that sort of thing. Yeah, they just...
Yeah.
Yep.
It's the wife of rather than actual has their own name. So the Bible has the same problem that a lot of movies have, right, George?
Yep.
Give the character a name.
Just like Jephthah's daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, we read the frickin' Bible, too. Then they're all attacked by Nomen the Golgothan shit demon. Some black people die before Silent Bob uses an after-shit air freshening spray to mace the thing. Serendipity says she'll interrogate it and sends the rest on their way.
Kind of another unnecessary scene, but I actually laughed at the mace or the spray at the end of it. I actually thought the line "knocks out strong odors" was kind of funny.
I laughed at Kevin Smith's confident delivery of that mace to the shit demon. He just has the idea, stands up, is like, all right, I'm going to spray you in the face with this.
Well, you said before that the reason they didn't show the fight with Jay and Silent Bob is because Jason Mewes is the heroine. How come they didn't show the fight here? We still don't see a fight scene.
Well, nobody fights it. It just gets maced.
Yeah, but he beats them up.
He kills the black people. He kills the black people.
We see the gang get beat up off screen.
Because it's easier to shoot it if you're not shooting it. Nomen the Golgothan is played by Ethan Suplee. And for the show, we saw him in Mallrats and American History X.
And I've also seen him in Clerks 3, Motherless Brooklyn, The Wolf of Wall Street, and Road Trip.
Yep. And I've seen him in Chasing Amy, Blow, John Q, and The Butterfly Effect. Meanwhile, Loki and Bartleby fail to acquire new bus tickets and float the idea of using their wings to fly, what with them being angels and all. Azrael shows up to caution them against that, saying that they need to keep a low profile because the last Scion, 2 prophets, and an apostle are already hunting for them.
Who is hunting whom here? I'm confused.
You and the protagonist, Tim.
Right.
No, the script is confused. No one's actually hunting anybody. Everyone's just heading to New Jersey. No one's literally looking for each other. These guys want to get to the church. They want to get to the church. No one's actually hunting anyone.
If Bethany is supposed to be hunting anybody, she doesn't know it yet.
No.
Nope. She actually gets kind of angry when she finds out she is. We'll get there. The protagonists board a train and make their way to Red Bank. Alone in a compartment, Bethany and Rufus have a talk about epistemology. Rufus has a better take here than Serendipity, saying that ideas are better than beliefs because we are naturally disinclined to question or change our beliefs even if they're wrong. Ideas are less bound to our identity and can be changed more easily.
And I'd just like to note that somewhere along the way, Rufus found some soiled clothes and some shoes, so that's good. We've got him all taken care of.
He found that before they got to movies.
Well, he did have he got the coat from Silent Bob, but yeah, I don't know where the rest of his clothes came from.
It turns out that Bartleby and Loki are on that very same train.
If these guys couldn't afford a bus ticket, well, how could they afford the train? In fact, where's anybody's money coming from?
It's not that they couldn't afford a bus ticket. They got to the window, and the lady was like, we're closed, and closed it.
They were sold out.
Yeah.
All right, because that lady was a director of one of the films we saw, right? She's a director. The one was to sell them the ticket. But anyway, that's regardless. Where is everyone's money coming from? Other than Bethany, who has a job?
No. We don't need to think about any of that. If we think about any of that, this episode never ends. Loki ends up in a conversation with the prophets, who share a joint with him. Bartleby and Bethany end up in what would be a meet cute if her purpose right now wasn't to stop them and if they had, working genitals. Eventually, Bethany gets to the part about her secret mission and Bartleby takes her hostage, threatening to kill her. Silent Bob ends up throwing him and Loki off the train, quoting Indiana Jones in the process.
No ticket.
I would have preferred he said, were you sitting here the whole time? Because the person he says it to is watching this whole thing happen. Like, where did he come from? That man wasn't there before.
Yeah, but Kevin Smith wanted to quote Indiana Jones.
Yeah, he would have quoted a better movie. Bartleby and Loki know about all your sins. So when would he meet Bethany and the prophets, they go like, hey, wait a minute. How come at least in the case of Bethany, how come I don't know who you are? I should know about you. Shouldn't he?
Yes.
Good question, Joe.
So, also, apparently, Bartleby is drinking alcohol because either those 4 empty beer bottles plus the little alcohol minis are all being drank by Bethany, which wouldn't she be wondering why her companion is not drinking, or Bartleby is drinking those beers? Just a little side shot that annoyed me there.
Yeah, we didn't cover this, but Metatron explains in the Mexican restaurant that when Bartleby convinced Loki to put down his flaming sword, what Loki did is get sloshed frickin' drunk, go to God, throw down his sword, and give God the finger. And for that, God made it so that angels can't drink. Like, they can't imbibe alcohol. So we see Metatron, like, putting tequila in his mouth and then spitting it into a glass. So if Bartleby is sitting here drinking, what the hell?
Right, either he's drinking and the movie forgot, or she's sitting with the companion who is just sitting there watching her get sloshed, which I guess could be the case.
Or Ben Affleck was drinking,
right?
And they just didn't think to edit it out.
Right, possibly. Did you also notice that this was a movie choice? They're all sitting in this train car, smoking cigarettes and smoking a joint. There's little no smoking signs up all through the train car, and that's a choice the movie made. They easily could have taken those down, or do they just not care? They were trying to say, "Ooh, look at these rebels smoking cigarettes in the train car. Evil, evil."
I think they didn't care.
I just like that the train has no passengers until we need that Indiana Jones line. Then suddenly there's a passenger.
Right. So I guess this is as good a time as any to bring this up because it happens throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So the Muse has already told Bethany that God is a woman. And throughout the rest of this movie, they will continually call God he, her, he, her, he, whoever is speaking. So is this just that God is how you perceive him, her, or it? That's what God is to you. But it's really annoying for the viewer to have God referred to as her and him when we know in the end, spoiler alert, by who plays God, it's going to be one or the other. It's just annoying to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess the point is God can be whatever he, she wants to be. So, although they say ultimately God's a she, but really God can also be a he. God can be this, can be that, which, I mean, I guess makes sense.
When you're making it all up anyway, you can make it up to be whatever you freaking want it to be.
Yeah, I guess that's the least of the problems with this theology, huh?
Yep.
Although now that I think about it, wow, God has Freudian castration issues because, like, he actually takes the dicks away from angels. Did he even have any? He took away the drinking.
They just didn't have
They
them.
just didn't have. He just did not to give them genitalia, which is a weird thing.
Although, no, in the Bible, there were giants that were the offspring of angels and mankind. So at some point, angels did have working genitals and could procreate with human beings, biblically speaking.
Who the hell was giving birth to a giant?
Well, they don't start giant.
They come out normal babies and then they grow to giants?
Sure. It's the Bible, Joe. Again, when you're making it all up, you can make it up however you want.
That's it. I just lost my faith.
That was the thing that did it, not your many years as the social media manager for a bunch of atheist podcasts.
Nope. You're witnessing live right now. I just went over the cliff.
In a parking structure, Bartleby rants in a way that Loki recognizes as the same rants Lucifer made before the fall. Loki tries to talk Bartleby out of it, but his friend won't be deterred because that would be the end of the movie. The protagonists get off the train too, because if your enemies know where you are, it's a good idea to not be there. Bethany is tired of being in the dark about things like the fact that she's supposed to kill Loki and Bartleby. So, Rufus comes clean with this.
Bethany, you are the great grandniece of Jesus Christ.
Which, from what Rufus said earlier, Jay follows up with, so that means Bethany is part black.
Good one, Jay.
Yep.
I know they're saying that you shouldn't be where your enemies know where you are, but the triplets know where everybody is. They've already popped in on the bridge one time. So this would be another place for the triplets maybe to pop in the middle of the night and they could end this movie, but the triplets are bad at their jobs.
Yep.
Well, to be fair, they don't know the triplets would know where they are, so.
Well, someone sends the triplets when they break down on the road. They know they're broken down. The triplets just seem to know where the right people are.
No, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that those Bethany and the gang, they don't realize the triplets would know where they are at all times.
Right.
So Bethany runs off into the woods, lands in a pond where she has her own rather more profane Garden of Gethsemane experience. Metatron shows up and tells her how much it sucked when he had to tell Jesus that he was God because the kid begged him to take it back. Eventually, Bethany calms down.
So is this kind of a symbolic baptism, rebirth
Yes.
for Bethany?
Yes,
And,
this is absolutely a symbolic baptism, rebirth, Garden of Gethsemane thing.
Yeah. Metatron walking on the water was a nice touch, though.
It would have been a nicer touch if Bethany didn't realize she was walking on water.
Ah.
You mean like Roadrunner or the Coyote and Roadrunner movie? She's just like walking and like, wait a minute, I'm standing water. Then she splashes into it.
Yep.
Yeah, that would have been better.
Yeah, that would have worked.
Metatron teleports the entire gang to some upscale dining establishment, begging the question of why didn't he just frickin' teleport them all to Red Bank, New Jersey? Good question, Tim and Joe. The prophets have the bright idea to ask Cardinal Glick if he could maybe not do the rededication ceremony and thereby end all of existence. Suffice it to say, Glick is not amiable to this solution because, again, the movie needs a runtime.
Wait a minute, how come Bartleby just doesn't talk to the... Why, he could have stopped all this. Why didn't Bartleby just... not Bartleby, I'm sorry. Metron just talk to the priest, the voice of God. Why doesn't he just talk to him?
Good question, Joe.
Wouldn't it just ended everything? Why did they need this whole business? He could just say, hey, don't do this ceremony at this point. I'm the voice of God. Here, look, I got no dick, so you know I'm the real thing.
Glick even says this ceremony will not be stopped short of the hand of God. He even says it. He opens a door for their solution right there. Okay, well, here's the voice of God.
Loki was the hand of God.
Ah, yeah. So not for nothing, has nothing to do with this movie or anything, but they made a choice to put a cup full of pencils on Cardinal Glick's desk, which Rufus plays with. Why would someone make that decision for a cup? That seems like a very purposeful decision to put in your movie. Somebody has to go buy pencils. I was fixated on that. I was fixated.
It's a movie with Jason Lee, and we know that he is fantastic doing space work with cups of things. So he might have been trying to gift that.
I digress.
So Loki and Bartleby arrive in New Jersey on foot. The protagonists retreat to the bootlegger's saloon to drown their sorrows before the world ends. Azrael and the triplets show up to make sure that they stay there. Serendipity shows up to tell them that Azrael is behind the whole thing. Then Azrael kills the bartender for funsies. Azrael wants the whole of existence to end because then he can finally be at peace.
And this scene, in about 4 minutes, recaps the entire movie, the past 75 minutes of the movie. Instant recap, instant exposition.
Yep. Glick holds another press conference for the rededication ceremony. Loki and Bartleby crash it and start killing anyone who doesn't run far or fast enough.
By the way, I know it's 1999, but even back then, I don't remember churches, when they had a rededication or any of this sort of getting that much press to it.
Or having the ostensibly secular governor of the state show up to endorse the religion.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
No, the governor was a Protestant. They made a point to tell them the governor she was a Protestant.
But it's still, she shouldn't be showing up to that thing at all.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Church and state? Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah.
Not in my frickin' me and Eli's New Jersey. Back at the bootlegger, Azrael tells his backstory but won't tell how he's keeping God out of the game because...
I've seen way too many Bond movies to know that you never reveal all the details of your plan, no matter how close you may think you are to winning.
Now, here's the weird thing about that. This creature's been in existence for all time, and I'm referencing a Bond movie? Surely there were other things that came before James Bond. In fact, I know there were books written well before Bond. I'm like, it's almost as if this was written by someone in their 30s. Or maybe 40s at the time.
Also, Jason Lee played Syndrome in The Incredibles, the main baddie, and at some point, he's got Mr. Incredible dead to rights, and he starts talking, and he stops. He's like, oh, you got me monologuing. I almost gave my whole plan away. This is the second time. I mean, this was technically the first time, but Jason Lee does that when he's playing bad characters. He starts telling a story about his plan and then stops because that would be stupid.
I guess that's screenwriters must like when he does that.
Serendipity gives Silent Bob the inspiration to whack Azrael with a golf club he stole from the Cardinal. Azrael lets him because he's immortal. The club caves in his chest, killing him because, of course, the Cardinal would have blessed his own clubs.
So can I assume for this that the Cardinal has secret magic powers?
Yes.
If you bless something, it becomes an instrument of God.
Okay.
They bless the water, it becomes holy water by just saying by magical things.
Yeah, Serendipity tells Bethany to bless the water in a sink, and they're able to drown the triplets in the now holy water.
So isn't the church blessed? So how come these guys walk through?
The plenary indulgence thing.
It's a loophole.
Right.
Even if it's blessed and protected, it's like opening a hole in that magical force field.
Okay. That makes
As much sense as anything in theology can. Yeah.
Why am I bringing logic to this? Let's just wrap this up. Come on, finish this goddamn.
I'd have written a better Bible than the ones that wrote the one that exists. The protagonists arrive at St. Michael's to a scene of utter carnage. They find Loki mortal, with his wings cut off, getting drunk. The Cardinal's headless body falls from the sky, and Loki says Bartleby's been up there for quite a while now. Bartleby spots them and comes down to finish them all off. He kills Loki. Jay grabs Bethany and ducks down behind some sound equipment and tries to cash in on that "it's the end of the world, so sleep with me" promise. Jay mentions John Doe Jersey, and Bethany gets an idea that that's really God trapped in an unconscious but alive human form in a hospital conveniently across the street.
I'm sorry. It's just so fucking stupid.
She grabs Silent Bob, the one of the two Wonder Twins who's not actively trying to put his penis in her, and heads there. Jay picks up an Uzi, sprays bullets at Bartleby, who deliberately takes them in the wings so he can become mortal. Because the part of the thing is they have to go through the arches to get forgiven, but then they have to die so that they can go to heaven.
Also, there's no way all those bullets were going to be hitting his wings. I mean, what the hell?
Nope. Bethany finds John Doe Jersey and pulls his plug. Energy leaps out. Generic energy, causing Bethany to rupture her side, and the energy escapes the hospital.
I thought there was a funny note here on her way into the hospital. The emergency broadcast system is broadcasting.
Oh yeah.
This is not a test. This is not a test. This is the apocalypse. This is the apocalypse. As if this little mass murder scene outside a church in New Jersey would make the world news as an apocalypse. In America, one of those mass shootings happens, on the regular.
Moreover, that announcement is making it out like evacuating the hospital is what you do during the apocalypse.
Right, that's it. There are people in wheelchairs tipped over. This is a good idea.
Just as Bartleby reaches the church arches, the doors swing open to reveal God herself, backed by Metatron. Serendipity and Rufus cover Jay's ears as God speaks, causing Bartleby to be reduced to ash.
Wait, no, before that happens, though, he says thank you, right? Am I nuts about that?
Well, yeah, because at least his fucking tortured existence in Wisconsin comes to an end.
So where are they going? Where does Bartleby and Loki go?
They don't. They cease to exist.
Oh, so...
Well, actually, no. Loki goes to hell.
Because he died in human form.
He died in human form without being forgiven. Bartleby stops existing.
Which is what Azrael wants, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So he should have planned this where he's there, so God just stick to him. That he could. All he wants to be is out of existence. That's why he's doing this whole plan. He could just ask God to do that for him, couldn't he?
He could have just had Jay arranged to have Silent Bob hit him with the golf club and kill him, which is what happened.
But that doesn't just. I thought he just goes back to hell then.
He might.
Do you think he?
I don't know. Probably. Fuck it. I don't care enough to wonder anymore.
It's unclear.
God is played by Alanis Morissette. And Joe and I have separately seen her in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back reprising this role. God walks out into the street and in a wink cleans up all the carnage. Note, we don't know that she restored anyone back to life or anything. As far as we know, she just cleaned up the mess.
I presume that everyone's back alive, only because the police don't show up going like, oh my God, there's just massacre going on. But yeah, we don't really know that for a fact.
And just as anyone is wondering where Bethany is, Silent Bob arrives carrying her lifeless, bloody form. God lays hands on her, causing her to heal and be revived. And Metatron reveals that she's also pregnant now.
Apparently she's not the last scion.
Well, she was until she was impregnated.
Right.
Which brings in the whole idea of consent that the movie does not even bother getting into.
Oh, no, but we know because Bethany told Metatron everything at that Mexican restaurant that she got an infection that took away her ability to have children, and she really wanted to have children, and her husband left her because she couldn't have children. So she must have wanted to have a child.
Well, presumably, yeah, I can imagine a woman wanting a child, but not under these circumstances. Usually when people say I want to have a kid, it's usually with a partner who's going to help me. We have a relationship. And I'm like, oh, I'm a single mother now. Who the hell knows my means of support now?
God isn't known for really giving a shit about the life circumstances of the women that she impregnates.
This is a woman. No one is concerned about what she wants or how she feels. That's not relevant.
Fair.
Sarcasm.
God goes back to heaven, and Jay posits that he and Bethany could be having sex into the third trimester. The end.
All right. Timothy, since you're our guest, what did you think?
Well, I'm pretty biased going into this movie because I've always enjoyed it. I say it works. I still enjoy it. I think it's funny. I think it's got some points here and there. It doesn't go far enough if you're looking for a movie that's going to rip into religion or the Catholic Church or theology. It's more a disjointed combination of short stories that's barely connected by a thin thread, which they do tie some of the loose ends together at the end. I forgot about that. But I enjoyed the movie. I'm sure I'll watch it again. Actually, I own the DVD if I could find it. You know, it works for me. Maybe not everybody.
It's free on YouTube at the moment.
But yeah, at the moment, good to have physical media. So good, Tim. Make sure you find that copy because God only knows how long it'll be out there. George, what do you think of this film?
I would like to say it still works, but Jay makes everything problematic. Like his 90s incessant throwing of dick at Bethany just ruins so many moments in this movie for me. It makes it just obnoxious to listen to as I'm watching it. So I would love to say it works, but I can't stand Jay anymore in it. And I think that the zeitgeist is moving in that direction.
I do not think it works. And not even just for that reason, though it's not a minor one with what you bring up there, George. But the reason I think it works is because I find I cannot watch this movie and not know about the crimes of the Catholic Church far beyond this. And the fact that this film takes it so seriously, well, not seriously, but, it's joking about, but at the same time, this theology is real, the God is real, and all this, and all the questions that would come up is completely glossed over or not even addressed in this picture. Forget about the child molestation. The whole idea of that God is watching, bad things happen and makes no intervention and no one brings up, well, why? Why wouldn't he do that? Why? Because it's his plan? Why? Why is that a plan? Why even have all these dumb rules? If you're the creator of all these rules, make better rules.
Oh, you mean why doesn't this Kevin Smith production with Jay and Silent Bob by View Askew solve the problem of evil?
No. Why doesn't it bring it up? It's not even addressed. It's not even like he brings it up and he goes, oh, well, this is my answer, my bullshit answer, my good answer, my good answer, bad answer. It's just like, it's not even there. He doesn't even approach the possibility. So no, it doesn't work. And yeah, I do join you in your boo, like, oh, just as long as you're having a belief. Fuck you.
Yeah. Like,
okay,
I'm cool with Rufus's take. I think that beliefs are less worth having than ideas are. Because it's a lot easier to change an idea. Once you accept it as a belief, we get kind of wedded to it, and it's really hard to change it, even when you're shown it's wrong. But Serendipity and her garbage about doesn't matter what you have faith in as long as you have it. No. Better to have reasons to think things are true. Faith is believing what you know ain't so.
Well, that's literally what it means. Yes, you got to have faith in it. It's not that it's real, but you don't have to have evidence to still believe in it. Yeah, I mean, hey, I was on the Bethany team there for a while. And when I saw this movie, I enjoyed it. And when I was a much younger person, when I first saw it. And then I, gotten older, and I actually did something that very few Christians actually do. I actually sat down and read the Bible from beginning to end as opposed to having people quote it to me. I'm like, wow, this is not only bad writing, but God's a dick.
Yep.
And then as I began to have more questions, I'm like, oh, this is actually not real. So that's how I became an atheist. But in terms of this movie, it has such a simplistic look at religion that, that most people have. I mean, there's no question Kevin Smith will be in the mainstream of most people. And be like, oh, yeah, it has to be something out there, blah, 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 and all this sort of stuff. But the whole idea of, again, the question of evil and God just watching all this stuff happening, it, much like Bad Lieutenant, this stuff's just not addressed. But if you want to bring up these issues, then that's a really big one you should at least pretend to answer, I think.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty, so you can still enjoy it, but 2 out of 3, it doesn't work.
And 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Yeah. So, Tim, thank you so much for participating in this little discussion.
It was fun to be here.
Yep, it's always a pleasure to have you. So plug some stuff.
So, by the time this episode drops, you'll be able to see God Awful Movies live in Las Vegas on October the 28th. We're finalizing right now, when this is being recorded, the details for our Las Vegas show. And I don't want to say too much, but you might actually see us on stage at a casino theater.
Ooh.
You can get tickets by going to godawfulmovieslive.com. That's all one word, godawfulmovieslive.com. And also save the date for the 2023 Piat Pajama Party streaming live on YouTube, which will be on September 2nd. All of our patrons to all of our shows will get an exclusive invitation to a 4 or 5 hour live stream where everyone is just hanging out in a house in George and Joe's, New Jersey.
No, excuse me.
Joe's not in New Jersey? Oops.
Goddamn right. How dare you?
George is New Jersey.
I live in fucking New Jersey.
Edit that.
I'm not a loser.
I can barely get him to come to New Jersey.
Edit. So we'll be hanging out in New Jersey for a week, and the last week of August, and wrapping up on Labor Day in September. But we've also got a new crib for the pajama party this year too. The place that we rented the past 2 years couldn't accommodate us, so we've got a bigger, nicer, cleaner, bigger, better, faster setup for the pajama party. And I think they're going to bring in and do a better job with the video and audio recording with the professionals that are being hired as well. So production quality will hopefully go up quite a bit this year. So come and see us on YouTube September 2nd.
Okay, Tim, I have some questions. I'm sorry, just real quick, because I'm not familiar with the pajama party thing. So basically what? It's like you guys sitting in your PJs and there's a camera on you, and then you show a film or something? How does the PJ party work?
So it started. The idea started to be is let's actually have a pajama party. So everyone wears pajamas and it's a pajama party. And there's entertainment. We play games like Fuck, Marry, Kill, and there's a Q&A session, and they play live music and sing their songs. And so it's a lot of stuff. There's no movie review, but Eli does magic tricks. Heath rolls a joint. Noah juggles. Heath does bar flair. He used to work for TGI Fridays. Like, he was a national competitor in their bar flair contest when TGI Fridays was, at its peak. So we do all that, and it takes about 3 or 4 hours. And we film it live on YouTube, and we have a comment section, which I moderate, and everyone just comes and joins us in a pajama party. And I don't know if we're going to get back to it. We actually used to have a pajama modeling contest. We also play Truth. We played Truth or Dare, just stuff like that you would do at a little pajama party when you were maybe teens.
So Joe, if you want, you can come. It'll be on a Saturday. You can come over and watch the pajama party and just crash here for the night. I'll feed you and stuff.
I don't wear pajamas.
Whatever.
But yeah, Heath will get drunk. Noah will get high. Everybody will have a good time. There'll be lots of singing and joking. And it's actually pretty funny. It's a pretty fun time. We play board games. We play games live. It doesn't sound like that would be fun, but actually there's some pretty funny things that happen during the pajama party.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, maybe we should try this sometime, George.
Sure. You just said you don't sleep in pajamas.
Well,
you used that as a reason why you wouldn't come over here to spend the night.
We just shoot from the waist up, that's all. Well, like I am now. You don't see anything.
I'd pay $1 for that.
If we had more patrons than we have.
That's what I mean. Yes, if we're more successful, obviously we're not doing it next week. George, what's up next?
Our next episode won't be next week. Regular listeners will know that we usually don't release an episode on the 5th Wednesday of a month, and this is true for this month. However, we are pretty far ahead on episodes and have lots of wonderful friends to sit in if one of us needs to take a week off. So we are going to be releasing episodes every week after next week, unless we absolutely have to skip one. The next episode will drop Wednesday, September 6th for the general public and Tuesday, September 5th for patrons. That episode will be a Patron's Choice episode, and we don't know what it'll be yet because that vote hasn't been finalized as of this recording. But if you want to vote and are not a patron, you can fix that whole problem by becoming one at patreon.com/DTSWpod.
I'm in.
Thank you, Tim. So I guess that's it for this episode. I'm Joe Dixon. Thanks for listening. And thanks again, Tim, for sitting in.
Yep.
Fun to be here.
And I'm George Romacka. Thanks for listening indeed, because if a podcast drops and there's no one around to hear it, it's just another collection of ones and zeros that doesn't matter.
Hello. We'd like 2 tickets to New Jersey, please.
Jersey's sold out, sir.
What?
There's one at the same time tomorrow. I suggest you not underestimate the staggering drawing power of the Garden State and show up 2 hours in advance.
You've been listening to Does This Still Work? Produced by Joe Dixon and George Romacka. The hosts can be reached via social media, email, or the contact page at dtswpod.com. Be good to yourself and others, because that still works.
An abortion clicking worker. An abortion clinic worker.
An abortion clicking. He clicked for an abortion. Sounds good. We should have that.
Yeah.
That's the future liberals want.
Yes,
Yep.
And this one does. In films and TV, a good guy will threaten the villain with death if he harms his family or wife or whatever. Why does the villain never say, yeah, but your family would still be dead? Sure, you'll kill me, but the person you love will still be gone. Besides that, I live with death every day. I know I'm not going to die quietly in my bed. Why is that never done?
If you opened a store, what would you sell and what would be its name?
If you could do anything for a living and you didn't have to make X number of dollars, for some reason, the amount of money that you make doing this thing for a living would be the amount of money that you need to live a normal, happy, paid for, financially relatively stress-free lifestyle, what job would you do?
If you were a teacher and a child in your care says that they are either gay or trans, would you tell the child's parents even if the state says you have to?
What's the funniest thing you've read recently?
Are sex scenes necessary?
If you were famous, what would your stage name be? All right, Joe. Let's get another rant disguised as a question out of the way.
I'll start with you, George, since you insulted my question. For this podcast, we see movies where people are cured of racism by falling down stairs, crashed, and after being sexually assaulted in the shower, American History X. Or just falling in love with someone of another race, as opposed to make you racist no more. Why do you suppose movie makers have such ludicrous ideas in their films?